Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Blue Dragon 5 here.
And Rohith.
And Jon Kelling.
It's time yet again to explore the vast catalog and find out what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And tonight, we're talking the season finale of Loki Season 2 Glorious Purpose. Gentlemen, it's been quite a ride. We've arrived at this moment in time. What do we think?
You want to go first?
Well, between the two of you, someone go first, yeah.
You go ahead, John.
Okay. Just this episode alone, I feel like kind of cements this show as the top tier of what they're capable of doing for the MCU on Disney Plus. This show was phenomenal.
Okay. Rohit?
I would like to add on to what John has said. Not only has this episode cemented Loki, both season one, season two, to be the best of what Marvel has to offer to Disney Plus. I think, in my personal opinion, and maybe this is a little bit of the high from this episode, season two, I think is, and I feel like people will challenge me on this. I think it is the best MCU project overall. The way it ends, and if you think of the both seasons as a whole, it is a great reinforcement of Loki as a character. It emphasizes themes that are natural to his character. The supporting cast is well written and well acted. And I think this episode, the way it ends, the glorious purpose, it's so well defined. And Loki, with how he was at the beginning of season one and where he is at the end of this episode in particular, is an amazing character arc. And I am very excited for when he eventually shows up in, if not Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars, just sort of where the character goes, the all the elements that come together. It is a masterclass achievement.
Yeah, I think we broke the Disney Plus MCU series losing streak with the finales. Why I say losing streak? I don't mean that just like a purely negative way. What I mean is like we've been having bad luck in that we have not really had a finale that has been like completely lauded and really loved, or at the very least, it was like it was close or it could have been good, but this held it back or that held it back. Or I think this episode really it hit all the marks. I thought it was an excellent finale and brought us a great close to the Loki story. And from what seemingly has been confirmed, it's like it's a two-part story. This is the ending. Season between seasons one and two. This is really the end of the story they were telling. It took two seasons, and I think it shows. Giving them two seasons, pretty good idea.
It really brought him back onto like the tier of godhood at the end. Like, no, yeah, this guy is a god.
No, where things end off, it's like, oh, this isn't Loki as people know him in the MCU or as people kind of filter him through like Tumblr or social media. This is like comic book Loki, not in the like classic comic book Loki, but like modern with what stuff is being done with him being the god of stories and multiverse, all that stuff. It's like, oh, this show, this creative team knew their stuff with Loki and wrote the story that best served the character of Loki in the MCU and also transition him to mirror and take elements and inspiration from classic Loki stories and ideas in the comics, which is amazing.
Yeah, this ending was like borderline like Ragnarok. The way it everything ended and restarted because of Loki. It's like right out of like mythology.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with Ouroboros himself, that's kind of the point. So
I know, but like it's amazing that they did it for this, and it
Yeah.
felt poignant.
Oh, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we should probably just kind of get into it, right?
Where should we start? Where we left
Well,
off at the beginning, at the end, in the middle, everywhere, all at once.
pretty much. Very appropriate given one of our cast members, but yes. So we should talk about so Loki essentially pulling the Groundhog Day and trying to fix the loom was a lot of fun. I believe we had I forget if it was the Walter Murphy song. Blanking what the title of that is. We have kind of like oh god, it's the one from Airplane. Do you guys remember it?
Fifth of Beethoven.
Fifth of Boat. Thank you. We have like the Fifth of Beethoven music playing, which is great. It's just a jaunty little sequence, but I love how much like Groundhog Day, it kind of because it's kind of a patent thing in superhero stuff where almost every superhero show has kind of done the Groundhog Day premise to some degree. We've had it like with Legends of Tomorrow, we've had it with Arrow, we've had with the Flash. We just keep putting in there with not the Beethoven part, but just the
the Groundhog Day. Yeah, that's
The time loop. The time loop.
yeah, they've done the old time loop usually in as we've seen in Groundhog, at least to some extent, like we've seen in Groundhog Day. So I think this has kind of an artfulness to it. Has a really good snappy pace in the editing. It's not just like it's not really getting tired, and I like that there is kind of a much like Groundhog Day to some extent. You have this. It starts off comedic and fun, but then you have like the severity getting in there. And what I really love is it reminds me of one of my favorite parts of the Groundhog Day movie, which is Bill Murray, as Phil Connors trying to save the elderly homeless gentleman. And it gets kind of to that Richard Donner sort of like all these powers and I couldn't even save him sort of thing. So I mean, you're feeling the frustration. You're rooting for Loki, especially when he finally essentially cracks it and all for nothing.
Yeah, the centuries he spends learning mechanics, physics, and engineering just to successfully launch the multiplier to fix the temporal loom, and just to be like, yeah, but it doesn't matter.
It's the scaling problem. And I got to admit, I was kind of wondering, well, yeah, if it is infinite, that thing's just going to keep growing and growing. Those little extra, the loops are going to only go so big.
Yeah, it's an infinite growing multiverse.
So just a great payoff to all that. And I've used the analogy before. We kind of had this with episode 4 with the way it ended, but it's kind of like a matchstick moment that we kind of got again, appropriate with all the time loops and time slipping of it all. Essentially a matchstick moment is that moment where you the audience expect, okay, he's going to finally fix the loom, but then you realize, wait a minute, we have more show left, we have more movie left. There's a left turn is coming here, and we have to find a better solution. So. Yeah, so I really appreciated that. Just like, what the heck is Loki gonna do now? Well, we're gonna go further back, and we go so further back, we're going to the end of season 1, which is genius.
I like. I think we kind of skipped something, but what I really
We're
appreciate.
jumping around like our title character.
Oh, sure. No, I really appreciated the dialogue, the scene between Tom Hiddleston's Loki and Jonathan Majors' He Who Remains, when it's just them two talking about, it's like, oh, you don't think this is the first time we had this conversation? This like He Who Remains, and then Loki's like, oh, this is the first time we've had this part of the conversation. It's just like, it's kind of ingenious that Loki, in any of the way he does, he probably is gone the path that He Who Remains went on, and the implications of what that means for like the future MCU, but just also on a character level, when you compare like Kang or like the variants of Kang, the variants of Loki, you have a man who his main title is he conquers and rules everything, and Loki, while he's a god, he's a god of mischief, a god of chaos. A person that spreads anarchy and dysfunction and everything.
The fact that it is revealed that Sylvie was in fact right the entire time, that everything was still in place because of He Who Remains. We get the revelation that like he seemed to have been sort of like this. He seemed to be kind of just tired of it all, And now I'm looking back at season 1. I'm like, that was all an act.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Yeah, that's kind of how we play it here. But does that take away that reveal to you guys? Like, does that seem like was it more interesting that he was very just kind of like almost not nihilistic might be the wrong word, but he was kind of so like kind of okay with this being an ending, knowing he would kind of get revenge, or like do you like prefer that it being an act the whole time?
Oh no, yeah, no, because it as far as he was concerned, he was never going to die because he set up only two possibilities for Loki in his mind, which was either endanger all of reality throughout all of time, or kill Sylvie and save himself.
Which I love that. I love that sadistic choice there. I love the no win, the Kobayashi Maru that we have put Loki in. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
the destroying the loom does not is the only thing. Even just destroying the loom like just ruins everything. And even like you said before, I'm pretty sure they would wind up in the exact same spot they were before, if that's the case.
well, yeah, it's the thing. Essentially, it's a multiversal chaos if the loom goes. So essentially, it's multiversal war, or it's Sylvie.
Yeah, I'm curious though if everything just restarts again, or just due to the nature of how time works in realms outside of time, if all the different Kang variants were exiled instead of just never having existed.
I think a bit of both.
Well, wait, which possibility?
Okay, so the whole idea was that Killing He Who Remains allows the sacred timeline, the MCU, to branch itself out at all different points, essentially reconnect to the multiverse, because they didn't really destroy the multiverse; they just isolated the MCU timeline.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I admit, season 2, until we got to this juncture where we finally have like the X factor, the missing variable, it was a little questionable like, how that worked, but it does seem that the logic of the Loki series as a whole is that we've been pruning all the branch timelines to just cut off the multiverse. So yeah, I think you're right, and that's how it seems to me the way the Kang variants would arrive is that they were created on the branch timelines, and they would all get the same idea. That seems to be what it is.
Except that we know that Victor Timely is considered a variant, and he exists in the 19th century.
Admittedly, that's still the one I'm still scratching my head because he seems to be like the actual He Who Remains might be Victor Timely, might not be. That's the one thing I'm still not.
Because the thing is the sacred timeline, like, and this is something that I think Michael Waldron had to elaborate on in an interview, and I think, and when you see it, it makes kind of sense. The sacred timeline isn't like literally one timeline; it's a bunch of timelines that are like wrapped together like rope. Mm-hmm. And when you see the loom, like it's literally taking those timelines and kind of wrapping them together, and that's what the sacred timeline is. So it's not really like one universe, but like a set of universes with the common variable being that there's always a variant of Kang that has the capacity to be a He Who Remains. So if it's Victor Timely, it can be Ramatut, it can be Centurion, it can be whoever.
So in that sense though, it would still be considered a universe though. Yeah. Because even if they're stitching stuff together, they're stitching stuff together so seamlessly throughout history that there's no real like there's no real difference to it. Like if it were to branch off into something else, that's actually interesting. They never actually explained that in the show, that it's several different timelines being weaved into one. The only thing that we get is that if it branches off, they clip it off because they don't want it to potentially go off into something else.
Well, I think when you see visually the loom, like because like when the sort of the strand, it's the timelines are sort of just supposed to be like there's like if you see videos of like how rope is made, that's kind of how like Michael Waldron explained that the sacred timeline is just like
we never saw the loom before it started branching out completely out of control though.
Well, I mean, look at it this way. Okay, look at like just what we have just in the main line continuity. You have two Lokis there. You have you have the Infinity War Loki, and then you have the the Avengers Loki who kind of splinters off. So that's kind of a branch that gets weaved around our main timeline. So that's kind of an example of the two universes kind of coexisting in one. And I guess depending how you want to look at it, Multiverse of Madness kind of counts within that too, because Doctor Strange Adventure kind of wraps around a little. So like those, I guess, are kind of the intersect points would be like the other threads of rope kind of weaved around there.
They branched the alternate 2012 timeline though in the first episode.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. I think that kind of ultimately does become something that gets weaved in there because Loki didn't get pruned.
Loki didn't, but the rest of the timeline did. They had the charges or whatever to like just destroy like everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, because I now remember. Yeah, they put you're right. They did. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was always a thing. Is that Loki himself said that he can't go back.
Right.
Because like as far as he's concerned, like his reality's gone. Like he got pulled from.
Yeah.
It also is kind of fun that he did get pulled from his most villainous state, and at the end of this, arguably this is the most selfless version of Loki we've ever seen.
And he arrived on it kind of on his own. Like he didn't go through the same journey as like the Infinity War Loki.
And the thing that's crazy about it is that like his most heroic version, like he's wearing kind of a very classic Loki outfit, but it's not. But I think what's interesting is that like for when Loki just is coming out into the loom, like he has like sort of the green slippers and the green cape and all that stuff. And I don't know if y'all pay attention to marketing. We actually had saw this costume before this episode.
I noticed it in the poster where like had like a bunch of the characters, especially a bunch of Lokis, running around in a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait a minute, who the hell is that?
Yeah.
We only saw like the back of him. I'm like, who the hell's that?
Yep. So something to mention too is to kind of jump around a little here. So Tom Hiddleston, this episode specifically, but I mean just in general, like this series and this season, I think Tom Hiddleston's given his finest performance this season. This episode, it's fun, it's layered, it's brilliant. It's just he's getting to play it all this episode. Like we go back, we have this great scene where he goes back to the pilot, the first episode of Loki.
Glorious Purpose.
Yes, which is even better with the whole Ouroboros thing, where Snake eating its tail, 2 episodes named Glorious Purpose. It's awesome. You never see that.
And Loki is the one character who turned into a snake to trick Thor.
Mm-hmm. Just that one. But yeah, it was. I just love he has that scene with Mobius, and it's this great scene of like Mobius, like mentioning how he couldn't prune this kid, and that's how Renslayer rose to power essentially. Making the hard choice and everything. And he has like essentially that's his goodbye to Mobius. He shakes his hand, and it's the fact that Loki has been through it all, having kind of a different encounter now, valuing kind of the experience that Mobius had kind of had at the TVA.
Mm-hmm.
Having seen it all, and kind of gone through time.
I really love the line from Mobius that is like, really purpose is less. It's more burden than glory, and it's like you have to find that purpose that you just struggle through, and even if it's something that causes you some level of suffering, you just gotta, have the will to live on and commit to that purpose. And I think that really sets Loki, and especially Loki, who at the beginning is at his most like self-serving, aggrandizing, arrogance, and like. He was a Loki that called Black Widow a mewling Quinn, which, if we all know our Shakespeare, Old English is quite a term. But I honestly, it's always so great to see Tom and Hiddleston and Owen Wilson acted out as Loki and Mobius, and they, I think, are the best friendship or best on-screen chemistry in any MCU project, hands down.
It's great. Also, so Time God Loki is a lot of fun. He's so charming. I love that he's showing up and what the big moment where they actually the loom actually works, but he's dominating that scene. He's like winking with like like a swagger in his step. It's a guy who's like he's absolutely prepared for it. He's convinced that it's going to work this time. So and then of course all just the look on his face when all goes south.
I heard people online clamoring for Hiddleston for Doctor Who in the future, and I'm like, you know what?
This
I'm down
episode
for
is a
it.
good audition for it, right?
Oh, absolutely! It's like that scene specifically, where he's just techno babbling, and I'm like, I'm down.
I mean, I'm not a Doctor Who guy at all, but I'd co-sign that.
Yeah,
He's
honestly,
British. It works.
I mean, if he kind of wore like a more fancy version of his TVA outfit, and with like a hint of green, like I would buy it.
We already did Quantum Loki. Why not Doctor Loki?
Yeah.
Let's see. So, okay. So again, the season 1 finale revisit. So, overall this episode I think has tremendous writing. Again, the whole lose choice there. The idea we are kind of circulating a little bit here, but the idea that the TVA has like this branch reset contingency. These are the answers I was looking for this season. I was so happy to get almost all of them, or at least again, we kind of had a little bit with what Waldron said outside of the show. So there's a little bit of that with the whole like how Victor Timely kind of works, but still, it's like the one thing we're a little lax on. But it's not a deal breaker. It's fine. It's fine. We kind of touch on that like the kid is not given the manual at the ending, so it's not really important. The fact is, the idea that the reason reality was like destroying itself and doing like the whole spaghettiing thing was this essentially is the sacred timeline being being restored to being the only one. He would rebuild the TVA from scratch, which is a really good dilemma because Loki cares about the people in the TVA and the TVA itself. So if that's gone, again, he remains just going to rebuild, but Loki's going to still lose everything, which is not good for him. That and just the fact that I don't know. I like that it's all planned out, and presumably, and I speculated this in the beginning of the season. I kind of called it, but in an unconventional way, a way I didn't really fully expect. Presumably, He Who Remains gave Loki the time slipping ability. Which essentially is Kang screwing with Loki, or He Who Remains screwing with Loki. So,
it's not presumably. He straight up says he did.
Right? I mean, that's essentially what he says, right?
Yeah. Who do you think paved that road?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so that's literally him saying that. Then okay.
Oh yeah, no, he's like
It wasn't just everything him being flowery about I set these events in motion. So I'm saying with that, you have to assume he gave him that ability.
Yeah, no. Nathaniel Richards is responsible for everything that happens in this show.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy to think about that a guy who just discovers the multiverse exists in the 31st century gains enough power to essentially give a living god from Norse mythology more power than he has. Like that's insane. And I'm when in light of all the troubles with majors and all that stuff, and with Marvel and all that, I am very excited to see more of Kang if he is depicted in this kind of capacity.
I mean, it's on brand with Kang, like a move like that, right? That's pretty cool, right?
It's funny that he was able to give Loki like time manipulation when he himself still needs like something to physically alter it. Like he needed a temp pad to physically alter time still. Loki could just do it on like inherently on a whim.
You may
which
wonder,
also it foreshadows Loki as a conduit, which ultimately he becomes.
Well, it also could be the case that for He Who Remains, he's ultimately like still human, And I think
that's true. That is true.
And I guess for Loki, like him having Jotun blood and having like magical abilities, like maybe what if maybe Loki's a mutant? What if that's his mutant ability? Because it's
I mean, I think just being just a non-human just kind of.
I concur with that. It's just the god thing. I don't think it's a mutation thing at all.
We don't need Norse mutants. I don't want to get down that road.
We already have enough troubles bringing in regular mutants. All right, let's just focus. Let's stay in our lanes a little here. Okay?
Listen, I'm mildly okay with mutants. I draw the line at Inhumans. I think that's going too far. And if we start going for mutant gods, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. I mean, Spider-Man's like the only one who can really walk those worlds, and he's even so like more of a mutate, so it barely.
Not really, because when he claimed to be a mutant, he like faked suicided himself. Sorry, House of M spoilers. Don't read it.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah.
It isn't. I don't know.
Okay, anyway. So, let's see. So, again, we have like the scene where he's going up against Sylvie, and he just can't bring himself to. We have to just keep having it hammered in, like again and again. You'll have to kill me. So it's really traumatizing for Loki. Is the idea that he's just gonna. He knows it's being spelled out for him what he's gonna have to do, at least what it's seemingly he's gonna have to do, and then just like pressing the. I just love him saying, "Aren't you even gonna fight back?" And then he just stops it there. It's just a great moment.
I was scared he was going to kill Sylvie at least once and then rewind it to undo it.
Right. Yeah.
I feared that possibility that he would have killed her.
Or it would have been, or maybe like he kills Sylvie, and then like there's even a worse outcome for the multiverse. Somehow.
Well, no. Even if it's not worse, that he just rewinds it just out of guilt because he just can't bring himself to like kill her and let her die.
Mm-hmm.
I was this episode, this whole season had me on edge. Like I haven't felt safe like since episode 3.
I mean, think about episode 1. I mean, we had that whole thing of like the big gamble between Loki and Mobius, like timing it just right. You know.
Yeah, but I knew
1.
that was gonna be fine.
I mean, considering how episode 4 ended.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I hadn't felt safe until episode 3, and then episode 4 happened. I mean, and then episode 5, where everything just became spaghetti, just like Batman said it does.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a lot of mileage out of the spaghetti with multiverse.
Yeah, it's you know, if I had a nickel for every time like spaghetti in the multiverse was like in the same thing this year, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot.
Well, it's enough to rub together.
Twice.
It's enough to rub together.
It's weird that it happened twice.
Yep. All right, let's see. So the whole free will debacle theme of the show here this is a big hallmark of what the series has been about the whole time. Like the idea of like Loki about Loki's is a character who's always been kind of fighting his destiny. He's always been bumping up against his destiny again, pursuing a glorious purpose. You know, like he's destined for something noble, something more than what his birthright was, which is just like essentially a frost baby. You know, it's just the fact that by this episode, you know, he's been going through this whole arc, and he and Sylvie just been on the side of the debate of like, you know, like what is free will? Like now that we have the option for it, like people should, you know, have, you know, be able to choose that option. Now Loki's given like the ultimate choice though of like essentially free will or not free will. You know, like no free will, but everything keeps spinning, or free will, but it's the end of things. Like, you know, what kind of choice is that? And we have this great exchange between them about it's okay to destroy something, but you have to hope you're destroying something to replace it with something better.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good line.
And also, what's great about this ending is I remember distinctly like Mobius' conversation to Loki in the first episode of season 1. It's like, well, what do you want to be? King of everything, king of space? And Loki is king of all of existence.
Mm-hmm. So that's the other thing. So Loki's fate. So he makes this sacrifice to essentially solve the old Kobayashi Maru lose situation, which is another thing he's been combating all the whole series, which is like Loki loses, and we kind of find a way to give Loki a win here, unconventionally. He spits in the face of that destiny of losing, and we call back the line from the end of the first Thor movie. You know, the whole, you know, I didn't call this myself, but it did seem familiar, and it was confirmed like someone found it or said, like, you know, this was for you. It was for all of us. As in Loki did this for, you know, before he lets go of the Rainbow Bridge. You know, he says that to his father. So we kind of call that line back. But much calmer. You know, I did this for you. I did this for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But so he makes the sacrificial play in a very different way than the Infinity War Loki did. He doesn't die. He walks to that loom. He gets a new costume, which is a nod to the classic Loki look.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, forged from broken pieces of the TVA. If you look at it,
Yeah, the horns are just like, uh, basically he remains like Citadel at the end of time.
Yeah, exactly. The Kintsugi look. It's all like broken
Mhm.
and kind of reassembled, which is cool. I always love that design idea for for a thing. So seeing that applied to Loki as well, he himself was kind of a broken character who's kind of reassembled stronger, just in terms of like everything we've done with him, especially with all the time slipping. So that's the payoff to Loki's story ultimately is his glorious purpose. He is a god, is being a god on a throne. We even kind of foreshadowed this in the Victor Timely episode, where he goes back and he sees that he's missing his spot amongst the three of the Norse gods. So he's kind of found his spot here. He's behind the scenes instead of being out front. He's the guy sitting on the throne, holding all of time together. But the trade-off, like Loki's cosmic punishment here, is that for the good that he's done, he gets to be a hero kind of in these moments, and he gets his throne. The trade-off is for all the bad that he's done, like killing all those people in New York. He's alone, and he doesn't get to see his friends, but he takes kind of solace in the fact that he's allowing it to all go on. He's like giving everyone the free will that he always kind of talked up, but he didn't really fully comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
Back when he was saying in the early phase of the Avengers. So yeah, it's kind of like it's power but loneliness at the same time. It's like it's the price of he's not doing it out of ego but for responsibility. It's a punishment. I don't know at all. The
It's
punishment for his
it's
action.
it's a it's it his purpose is a burden, but there is something honorable and beautiful in him serving that burden of a purpose.
He trades in the glorious purpose for the burden.
Yeah. Also, the fact that he wove like the Asgardian tree, which is awesome, right?
Oh my god. The reveal that he weaves the threads of time, the multiverse, into Yggdrasil.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty sweet, right?
I'm not gonna lie, my mouth was agape. I
Oh,
was like,
no, but also like in light of that, because think of Ragnarok, it's like Loki starts the end of things and then time reverts back. Considering Secret Wars is like like thing like people talk about it could be a soft reboot or a full reboot or whatnot. It's like Loki, the end, basically sets that as the story arc or narrative, right? Like Loki resetting in time, like, and I think what's also cool about the tree thing is that especially like the whole Japanese art Kintsugi, like I know like for bonsais or it's like you have to let them grow. You kind of you quote unquote prune or cut things to the edge, but you let it grow and branch out. So it's great to see like time like existence is not just things wrapped into like this very tight knit rope that just is one straight line. Multiverse is now a tree that comes from like all the multiverse comes from a common foundation that branches out and has different leaves, different like pathways, and that's really free will and you know infinity expressed in that kind of a symbol, which is
and not just that, he is purposely keeping it alive because the branches were dying.
Mhm.
He revitalizes them back to life with his magic.
yeah.
And that's why he has to stay there, because he's keeping all of existence and reality alive.
And he has that magic because of his mom, and now retroactively, his interactions with his mom in Thor: The Dark World have so much more significance in light of this episode.
Yeah, like retroactive, like even though this Loki never had that moment, like he still had to experience it like third person. Like it happened, it would have happened to him had he not been taken out of his timeline. And now he has to sit on his throne, doomed to spend eternity of solitude, overseeing the multiverse. It's kind of amazing. It's the Loki has arguably been probably the best character out of every phase we've had so far of the MCU.
Yeah, they literally tied it together very nicely.
It's good. It's crazy to think that Tom Hiddleston has been playing this character since 2011, and if you watch all of Loki stuff from Thor to now, it's like an end game level ending for Loki.
It's even crazier. He wanted to play Thor initially.
Oh
Yeah,
my god.
and also what's kind of funny on a meta level is that like the fact that Loki like keeps all these branches, all these stories, and keeps everything branching out and all that stuff. Like Tom Hiddleston is one of the few MCU actors that like, if not as a big fan of the MCU, is so knowledgeable that he like gave lectures to Owen Wilson and the rest of the cast in like Loki season 1. And so to see him basically be like the architect or the gardener of like the tree of the multiverse is just great. Just great aesthetics.
I mean, there's always been like a little bit of. It's kind of funny. I've made the joke before that He Who Remains is kind of a parody of Kevin Feige. So I think it's kind of funny where what we kind of do ultimately with that, where it's kind of the characters in the universe kind of like you kind of rebelling a little against that. I want to be I love Feige. I'm just saying the idea of like what if Feige were kind of like a guy who's like in charge of the big timeline, essentially being He Who Remains. Um, just the idea, but let's admit it though, Feige's gotten a little complacent these days, a little bit. Post Endgame. I think we've been seeing. I think he's like too many branches, as it were, in terms of too many projects. I think his purview's been a little distracted there, and it's kind of like the universe kind of course correcting here with Loki.
Yeah, the loom's really imploding on us, like in real time.
Yeah, so but you see what I mean, though. So it's kind of interesting that we have like a character just kind of saying like, we need to be the custodians of our own myth, and they're gonna have to address almost if you look at I'm getting too meta with this, mind you. I'm just laying out there for giggles. But it's just like, what if it's like if you look at the tone of this episode, it kind of hits what we've been really in need of in the MCU, and it's kind of like this is what we need. Feige filling.
I mean, what also is like, I mean, on another meta level, like as you mentioned earlier, like one of Loki's titles is God of Stories.
Yeah,
and the multiverse, for us as an audience, it's just a collection of stories and infinite permutations of characters and themes and backgrounds and locales. Like, um,
Does he still currently have that title in the comics? Does he still like just write stuff into existence currently?
I don't know if he does like to that extent, but I think he does kind of have that like. I don't know if it's like I feel like stories is kind of the way he says like God of Stories is kind of almost synonymous with like God of Lies or God.
Yeah, I think it's just like another phrasing of what lies.
No, but like he gained the power to just like write something down, and then it comes into fruition, like into existence.
Oh man!
But I haven't read like anything recently, so I don't know if he still actually has that ability.
Think about this. It's also interesting that Loki ultimately takes himself out of the equation because again he can't really leave that throne. Now, presumably he won't leave that throne until like we actually have the multiversal war with Kang Dynasty and Secret War.
Even if he shows up, there's nothing to suggest that he will leave.
Yeah.
If anything, I think with the word things enough, I think Sylvie might join him on that throne, so he won't have to like rule alone.
See, now I'm seeing parallels to the Lucifer show with that. Just giving the throne to is the fact that.
Because the thing is, unlike He Who Remains, he actually wants a partnership. So
I mean the show Lucifer. I mean the actual guy.
No. But like I was on a certain point, but like I think if Sylvie were to join Loki at the end of Secret Wars, then in Multiverse Saga, it's a specific contrast to Ravonna and Kang's relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Renslayer, what exactly happened to her? She seemed to have come face to face with Eliav, but
and I still think I have a theory about that.
Sure.
I've kind of said kind of a joking way before, but I do kind of I like to think that Ravonna, she tames the beast in Eliath. I like to think that's what she does. I like to think that somehow she commands a respect over Eliath and becomes like her pet or something.
We're told she led the army that won the multiversal war.
Yeah.
Assumingly that included Eliath, will
Mhm.
Eliath recognize her?
I like to think that's what I would. Based on that, I would like to. Admittedly, I didn't know like specifically if it'd be like a recognition, but I like to think, yeah, I like to think that's what it
What
was.
would be really wild? It would be wild. I'll put this theory out there into the ether. Like if Eliath was like some mess, like some variant of Kang or Ravonna, right? I mean, we have Loki as like an alligator in the multiverse.
Then we have Kang as an alligator, cloudigator.
That's a little too far out there. I would love if that was a thing, but
I mean, essentially, I'm saying Eliath essentially is a giant like cloud alligator. It's roughly what he is anyway. So
yeah.
Is he an alligator?
I'm pretty sure he. I thought that's what he was established. I mean, he's kind
No,
of like
he's
he's in the shape of an alligator, isn't he?
He's
he's
not really. He's like a cloud with like a skull face.
Are you sure it was a skull and not like an elongated thing?
I thought he was.
I would bet your life on it.
Well, of course, you bet my life on it.
I thought he was supposed to be like a lion, and because a lion kind of gives like a. That's how I imagine like a name of a lion or something.
Yeah,
like
no.
That
from
one
what
sounds closer, honestly.
from like what I remember from the comics and how he's presented in season 1, he's just like a big cloud with like glowing eyes and like fangs. But like the way he's presented in the show, he has like a concave like cavity like where his nostril would be, and like his mouth seems more hollow than what like an animal's mouth.
I hear what you mean. Yeah.
Here's what I'm remembering. Okay, and I could be wrong here. Now, mind you, it's been a while since the first season. I could have sworn there's like this money shot from the side where I know. Admittedly, maybe the alligator thing's off. But I don't know, it had like an extended snout when like a roar from like.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a panther or like a tiger or something like that.
I don't know. I mean, maybe you're right. I don't know. I was thinking maybe more like reptilian in nature, but sure. I'm saying it also kind of tracks that we do have like a we have like a reptile Kang as well, and the whole lizard like timekeeper thing. I don't know, but you guys, I want to be clear. You guys are probably right. It's probably more like lion like or skull like or whatever or what have you.
I wondered though if like maybe like the purple lighting is like there's like the Kang variant that pops out of Elias or whatever.
The purple choice is noteworthy. So yeah. I think there's definitely a Kang relation in there.
And then whoever that Kang is that shows up could be the Kang that we see in Kang Dynasty.
You're implying that we are only going to see one. I think they're going to take on the council.
No, one of these we're going to get the council. Yeah.
I think like they'll face the council, but the leader of that council or the front facing of that council is who pops up in front of Rohith, is what I imagine.
I think the Council of Kang is run by like literally a council. I don't think there's like one person above all of them. I think they're just like
whichever Kang has the fanciest hat runs the Council of Kang.
That would be Immortus.
Yep.
Which is it's still fun that they kind of mixed Immortus and He Who Remains to make the one that we see in season 1 and here at the end of season 2.
Yeah, I mean, look, in all seriousness, I think it's pretty safe to assume the Council of Kangs are going to be in Kang Dynasty as like as the threat there. It's probably
I think we need them to just show up like in one of these movies before the next Avengers and just like wipe everything out.
That would be a heck of a mid-credit scene.
Oh, I'm not even talking about mid-credit. Just like during the third act, just come in and just wipe everything out.
You know what would be the best place? Doctor Strange 3.
Blade. Since they can't figure out what the hell to do with that.
No. You know, I heard something really funny. You guys are going to appreciate this. It was Kevin Smith and Mark Bernard. They were doing their podcast, and they had this really. It's a way of it's putting in a box. So I think it's really funny. Just the idea of like. It's a guy who hunts vampires. Why is this so hard to write? where essentially it's like they could just it's not impossible. There was a Blade movie that exists.
Well,
It's
I
not
think
rocket science with
that's
Blade. I
part
think
of the,
they're kind of
well,
right.
no, I think that's part of the problem though, is because I think with how compare how the MCU approached Spider-Man as in contrast to the Raimi and Webb films. Like the
Yeah,
MCU Spider-Man is specifically designed to be a significant contrast
yeah.
to those prior two iterations. And I think that's the challenge for the MCU with Blade, is that they're trying to find a version that's unique to the MCU that doesn't just retread the Snipes films.
Well, I mean, to be fair, what we have is that we have a really good actor, Mahershala Ali, and we have the advent of to the MCU. We can pay off or set up the supernatural side of things. So we have a bigger playground versus what we had in Blade. I don't think it's that hard.
I don't understand why they don't just do something as simple as Blade versus Dracula. Just do that. There's a there's a thing in the comics where that's happened multiple times. Just do that.
I mean, if we didn't screw up Morbius, we'd have that too.
Oh yeah, because there was ever a chance Morbius was going to be anything remotely good.
Yeah, no, I said I think if we didn't screw up Morbius.
Oh, I know. But my implication is that that was always doomed to fail.
Yeah.
That was part of the sacred timeline.
Yeah, it was meant to happen. That's a What does everyone say? That's a canon event.
It's funny. Going back to I rewatched Across the Spider Verse recently since they added it to Netflix. I mean, I had it on Blu-ray, but I'm saying it's been a while since I watched it since it was released. You know, I love I love Across Spider Verse. I do, and I'm looking forward to the Beyond the Spider Verse. Still, in my heart of hearts, I don't think it quite surpasses what we get in Into the Spider Verse. But notwithstanding, the Across the Spider Verse, I look at the canon events. I think I was maybe dazzled more so just by what canon events were than really on the rewatch how they worked in the plot. Where it feels like we're doing that thing again, which is kind of getting to me. We keep complicating the multiverse we're adding these rules and stuff. It can't just be like an infinite realities thing that exists. We keep adding
Well,
these certain
I
rules and
I
limitations.
I was always under the impression that Miguel's the one that manufactured the idea of canon events being so.
But we don't know
important.
that yet. That's the thing. That's an assumption. That's
We
a good
don't know.
assumption.
We don't know that, but we also don't know exactly, because the way he describes what he did to the universe he went to destabilizing, I'm like, no, that's not how that works the way you're saying it works. Because what you did and what you're trying to prevent are two separate things.
See, that's the thing. Think about this. I know I'm getting a little off subject here, but we talked about pretty much everything but the epilogue in this. I'm just going to take a moment to kind of approach the Spider-Verse thing here. Is that because it is multiversal related, we do kind of call that, we do reference Loki in Across the Spider-Verse as well. We see it for a moment, the whole sacred timeline thing. We see the branching out, so a little bit of Loki in there. Here's the thing. What I'm having trouble with the canon events is the fact that look at the Spider-Man of India. Spider-Man of India.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
You mean Prabhakar?
Yeah, him. So we save Cap. It was Captain Singh, right? That's what we call the Captain Stacy of his reality.
Inspector Singh.
Inspector Singh. Thank you. Inspector Singh. We saved him. We kind of faced him with two canon events almost. We had Inspector Singh. We had the death of Gwen Stacy. And we saved Captain Singh and her, but at the point we evaded the canon event. It just feels, and then his realities collide. The idea that if the canon events don't happen, just the whole reality crumbles. That's where I'm really kind of struggling with the canon events. The fact that if something doesn't happen, why does reality just crumble entirely just because of the actions of Spider-Man? Where it's like literally the universe revolves around Spider-Man.
I think we're led to believe it does. I think we're immediately forgetting that the Spot literally activated a particle accelerator to gain more power, and then that entire facility slid into the ground.
That's the thing, John. I think you have a really good take on that. Honestly, I'm hoping you're right. I
I
think that's good, but
I
I don't. We
disagree.
don't know yet. But
I
it's yeah.
disagree. I Dragon, you remember what my suggestion was for Beyond the Spider Verse, or what was likely going to be the reveal? My suggestion is that it is likely because I made the point that all the canon events don't seem super scientific in nature. They
Mhm.
seem more like supernatural or like a superstition.
Yeah.
I think Beyond the Spider Verse, you will find out that they're part of like the whole web of destiny and all that stuff. I think you'll get into the whole supernatural, like the web of life and destiny, spider totems and all that stuff. I think that's kind of where the implication is because like I do see John's point about like the whole because it could be a thing where like okay he activates the power accelerator, it could affect different universes at different points of time. So maybe like in not existing, it could be that him starting the chain events, it could just not travel through all the universes, but travel through the universes at different points of time. So Miguel, he just happened to be replacing his variant and be like and have a daughter, and the machinations of the spot just reaches that universe at that time. But I do think there is something to be said that there could be some supernatural entity before, like maybe Madam Web, or some version of.
Madam Web would be one of the, here's the thing. I still think we're saving the biggest guns of all for this for Beyond the. I mean, think about it. They have to measure up to how the heck do we top bazillion Spider-Man variants in Across the Spider-Verse? So think about the trump cards that we have that we haven't used. Okay, now obviously a lot of people are going to say Tom Holland Spider-Man and the rest of our live action Spider-Man's animated. True, but more so our animated Spider-Man. We did get Spectacular in a cameo, but I'm saying I think the big one, the one who started all, the one we don't get these movies without this. 90s Spider-Man, I think is gonna be our trump card. What was a big element of 90s Spider-Man? It was Madam Web. So if we're gonna get that, that would go hand in hand. Like who's the big one we haven't gotten to yet?
And there's a Madam Web movie coming out next year, so
I was gonna say that
but,
there's no. He has a point. There's a Madam Web movie. We know for a fact there's time travel involved.
In the Madam Web movie?
Oh yes.
Yeah, but what's she gonna do if she can't use Spider-Man though? What's the point?
I think they're trying to save Peter from they're trying to prevent Peter from not being born. They're there to save Peter to be
John Connor
born.
style, yeah, T2.
Yeah, they're Terminatoring it. They're it's like it's Madam Web and like a small team of other
female spider will be like
I think Aranya's there. I think who's is Jessica Carpenter? There's like two different Madam Webs.
It's like because like Madam Web is like she's like it's visually based off of the second Madam Web, who's the younger person.
Right, but the old one's also in the cast.
Is it? Are they?
Yes, there's two Madam Webs in the movie.
Who's the other one?
I forget her name. The one that we think of when we think of Madam Web. Like the one that's in the spider web looking apparatus chair. Like she's cast, and then the Jessica Carpenter version, the second one, the one that's also a psychic, is like she's the main lead, and then we have a bunch of female spider characters. Ezekiel's in the movie.
Wait, Ezekiel's gonna be in the Madam Web movie.
Ezekiel's in the movie.
See, man, now I'm just getting ticked off. Like, don't try and sell me on this Madam Web movie. Don't do that, John.
No.
Oh, you know what's funny? I've been really negative towards a lot of the Sony stuff. Like the only thing they've even remotely done like to like allow me to give them credit is the Spider-Verse stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is going to be interconnected in any way, I'm extremely curious.
I don't think Sony's smart enough to pull that off, though.
We already know they'll allow live action characters into the Spider-Verse
I know,
movies.
but it's still though that was a gag. Though I don't think they're gonna have the guts to do it.
I feel like that. I mean, why? I mean that is the trump card. I feel like no. Because here's the thing. Because for Beyond the Spider-Verse, I think there's going to be because I feel like the title will have to mean something, right? And it's not just like okay, you go into the Spider-Verse, you discover it exists, and across you go to a different dimension. All that Beyond.
We got to go beyond. We got to do something big for Beyond.
And I think it will be a cosmic entity like Madam Web or whoever that dictates this is what it means to be Spider-Man or this is the destiny, and then maybe something happens where Miles breaks out of it to when maybe people can decide not to for the people who are Spider-Man in their respective universes, they can do their own way of being Spider-Man, or even not even be Spider-Man in the first place, and that would be kind of a sort of the big,
Okay, so we gotta get off the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think
okay, guys.
We're still on the subject of multiverse, but on a whole different level. Let's go back to the Norse.
Okay, so basically we have our epilogue left here. So it's a nice epilogue here. We see we got a new Miss Minutes, new guides. We see again we kind of covered the Aliyah thing. It looks to me it seems B-15's in charge, and she's pruning all the Kang variants, in which we shout out Quantumania.
Well, they're not pruning anything yet. They haven't run into any variants.
That's not yet, but it seems like that's the new mission. Like
they're on the lookout. Now the TVA is supposed to be what the TVA is supposed to do, which is to protect, like, the timeline.
Yeah, when they're protecting it from Kang, so that's essentially the only thing they're pruning is. That's what I mean. They're only pruning Kang. So
I think we overlooked something that I'm curious about because they showed a young Victor Timely not getting the book.
Mm-hmm.
But because of how this all works, what happened to the Timely that they picked up?
That was my thought. It's like, well, he was there alongside all the other characters, and I was like, well, where does he end up? I am very curious if maybe he's like because I think they're hunting down all the Kang variants, like this time.
So is it like a walking grandfather paradox, or?
No, because it's like.
Well, no, because they took him out of a branch timeline, like they reset it so, like that version of him doesn't happen like in the normal MCU timeline.
Yeah. So wait, so the kid was on the sacred timeline, but the moment he got that book, he became branched, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Right.
That's why they go forward 20, 30 years.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So the kid's just fine then.
Yeah, but what happened to the Victor timeline that was with them when Loki destroyed the Loom? Yeah.
Well, do you think he just becomes like a Kang or like the Kang?
I don't know. Do they have a way to put him back? Do they can they wipe his memory? Do they keep him on staff? What the hell do they do with him?
Well, I don't remember. They can't
like a TVA agent or wipe his memory, because man, I wonder if maybe if the actor strike wasn't happening to the length it was, and there was some lead time, maybe they could have had an extra scene reshot or whatever. Or I wonder if they're in retrospect Marvel would have had a more definitive ending for Victor Timely.
Well, here's something to consider. We with the mind wipe thing, we never really established what the deal with that was because again, the TVA were mind. Well, actually, I'm sorry, scratch it. Never mind. Well, I'm sorry. Here's the thing: was there even a mind wipe? Because we went back in time. Loki went back in time before he really met Mobius. Was that why he was being chased, or was it were they wiped in the past?
No. The implication is that the time wipe happened eons ago in the TVA because the way time passes for them, it could have been 1,000,000,000,000 years in the past relative to us. But Loki only went so far as episode 1 of season 1, and then he went back.
No. I mean, in the first episode of this season, when
no. He doesn't go to where. No, so they were so every TVA agent was always mind wiped from the start, and where Loki meets up with Mobius, and Mobius has recognized him. He's at a point earlier than episode 1.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, no.
So
That
that's what I mean. Like
it
Mobius
it's
wasn't.
interesting. I don't know. Because the implication is that Loki says that they've been mind wiped more than once. I don't know where he got that idea.
Yeah.
I think it's probably just an assumption, just to like keep the TVA running. Maybe.
Well, maybe the more mind wipe more than once is like he thinks that like time resets. So in a sense that like whatever awareness they get, timeline ends, resets, and they're back to like being mind wiped. Is kind of what.
It could also be when they found out they were variants, the fact that they were abducted from their natural timelines.
So they did lose their memories somehow at some point.
Worked for Kang, and then wiped their memories again to work for the timekeepers.
I mean, we don't even know if they were abducted. If they just like, because the thing is, for Mobius, could he just be like, yeah, there's a variant of him that exists that's like has a family and all that stuff.
Oh no, that's that. The implication is that is him.
Yeah,
like that was the version of him that they took to the TVA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
why last episode they said those were the real ones. That was
that's right.
Yeah, and they all existed on branch timelines, so they exist. Assumingly they exist some. Well, we know one of them is actually a person from history. Casey turned out to be Frank, something, the guy that escaped Alcatraz.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think then do you think probably earlier on, like for whatever variants, like from time for branch timelines, it's if they don't prove a variant, do you think they just have a variant then be kind of like mind wiped to become a TVA agent?
I don't know. There was also like a really interesting process for Loki being processed at the TVA in episode 1. So maybe they just have a mind wiping machine. Who knows?
Well, I mean, with the mind wiping, I mean, I'm going to guess practically it would be that he who remains can basically reverse someone's memory through time, through kind of manipulation of time, perhaps. That's in terms of the technology. And I guess through missed minutes, he could maybe do that.
Wait, no, guys, I got it. It's the Men in Black thing, because that used to be a Marvel comic, so they just go to that timeline.
Yeah, they're going to neuralize him. Yeah,
I mean, if he who remains can give like time slipping abilities to like a Norse god, he can mind wipe like regular humans.
Yeah, basically by like turning their memories back to before they knew something.
Yeah, he could probably just, whoever's within the vicinity of the TVA, he can just wipe everyone's mind. Probably with like, I mean, he just had missed minutes to it. So ultimately, I don't think it matters how it happens.
Of course not. It is the fact that we didn't really acknowledge, like, this was a thing that they could do.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, we weren't explicitly told what happened to that 30-something-year-old version of Victor Timely that they had with them.
Well, we know what he did. He got hot cocoa, John. I mean,
no, he didn't.
Well, I'm saying now he's gotten hot. Yeah, that's where he left to do now. He left.
Okay, so he's just at the hot cocoa machine, just giving everyone hot cocoa.
That's where he is. He's just getting hot cocoa until he's making everyone drink.
No mind wipe, only cocoa.
Yeah, he's giving everyone hot cocoa, watching them drink, and then eventually, after ad infinitum of like TVA agents come by, then he'll have the hot cocoa. That's what he's doing right
now.
I guess.
Let the man have his cocoa, John. Why you gotta smash his dreams like that?
Do you think anyone went back to the end of time to save any of the people that they pruned?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Oh boy!
Like, you have to assume there is at least some Lokis running around.
Well, I guess assuming if Loki he like resets the universe, does the end of time look different? Here's the thing. Because remember when Renslayer shows up, what's the one thing that like stood out was like the leaves rustling, and you saw like the for all time always.
There were the pyramids of Gaza, and the Great Sphinx were also in the background. That's what you were saying. Yeah, but that was elsewhere.
Yeah,
that was outside of Kid Loki's hideout.
No, but what I was saying is that like. Because like below, there's like grass that rustles, and below it is like the
old TVA logo.
Yeah, so the implication that like the end of time, or is the TVA just actually in the end of time, and then eventually it will come to a point where it crumbles down, and what remains is the end of time that we see in the first season.
Maybe it implies that a version of the TVA was pruned.
Well, remember when we in the I guess the wasteland, where we went, where we pruned everything. We did see that Easter egg of like we have like the Avengers Tower, but it was like a Kang, like it was a nod to like Kang's company from the comics,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kang
Kang.
Enterprises,
like Quang or something. It was
Yeah.
so maybe that's some has something to do with it. Maybe it was like very much like a whole like the TVA kind of linked to Kang, and that's ultimately its fate, perhaps.
Or maybe
All right,
none
so
of it matters.
well, I mean, there's that too. Okay, but seriously, here's what does matter, though. Okay, Mobius, he got to see the life that he left behind. Gets to make the choice there. Well, we don't even know what choice. I like that we keep it ambiguous, though. He basically just wanted the answers. We don't really know what he does next.
All we do know is he's just gonna stay there for a bit, let time pass by.
Yeah, it's a nice moment with him and Sylvie because Sylvie always judges us so harshly for not finding
No,
out.
no, no. Here's a fun theory. Well, not fun. It's just me kind of joshing.
He steals the jet ski.
No. He has Sylvie change his face, and then it pops out as Luke Wilson, and he'll just move in next door and be like,
Wow.
Yeah.
exactly.
Wow.
Oh, I wanna just say this because it annoys me every time. They keep referring to the MCU as 616. I hate it.
Well, that's kind of.
Well, no. Because remember, John? Did you catch what they called like the Kang variant, where he was located or where they beat him?
Yeah, 616 adjacent realm.
Yeah.
That's the domain that they meant the quantum realm, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they were referring
to Rohith. I had the same thought, but then I realized, oh, it's quantum realm.
They're referred to the quantum realm, or as I like to call it, the microverse.
As we all
they can't use that because they don't have the Micronauts anymore.
Nope.
Because if they did, those people in the quantum realm would have been Micronauts.
Yeah.
And we would have gotten Bug to be a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep. Anywho, yeah, so it is a little, the whole 616 and the whole 19999, however that, whatever the
1999.99.
Wait, how many nines total?
It should be 5.
That was like 6. That was literally 9.
No, it's 1999.99.
Okay, so it's 2 nines after 99.
Yes.
Okay, 1999.99. Did I get it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, awesome. I got it now.
I'm fine with MCU being called 616.
Oh, it should be 616 is better. Let's just say that, just in terms of it's a short abbreviated term.
If that's the case, then they should put something at the end of it to differentiate it.
Well, what do you mean?
6161.
Or like
616.
Or
well,
like
because that's the mainstream universe from the comics.
Yeah.
Or like mine, or like either it should be 505 or 727. So it's like
that's how they got 838. They just added 2 to each number.
Oh my god, I didn't even think it. Even in my mind. Oh god,
it's pretty clever, right?
Listen. It's a thing with me, okay? I'm upset because there is an official designation in universe for the multiverse catalyzation that because of the Captain Britain Corps, they catalog the multiverse and they give them their official designated numbers, which Marvel uses officially.
Yeah.
And the MCU was officially designated as 1999.99.
I mean, look, it's this thing where, at the end of the day, I love the world building of the MCU. It's one of the greatest things about it is the fact that, again, at least until we complicate certain things, like everything does flow very, very smoothly, and all the pieces fit in. It's one of the great things about it. It's kind of like the DCAU in that regard. But like that, and like even with the DCAU and with the MCU, you do have the occasional incongruous thing that unfortunately there's no way around. Like, for example, and even this, they put out some book recently, they kind of called it out hilariously with Miss Minutes, like thing like you look at Spider-Man: Homecoming. I know we're back to Spider-Man just for a brief point. It's just the fact that we have that year jump. We get the year wrong at the top of Spider-Man: Homecoming when we go back to the Avengers with the timeline and everything. It's like, yeah, they goofed up. They even said like the official timeline book's like, yep, we all know the TVA has no explanation for that one. It's like, okay,
I feel like they should have just say like modern day or
yeah, it's like, why did they how did they screw that one up? That's the real
yeah, and like
question.
the whole Toombs has like a picture drawing, and it's like
Mhm.
just have make Liz Allen have a sibling or whatever that would have drawn that.
So it's a whole. So yeah, you have some. Yeah, again, you have stuff like that, and you have the occasional things here and there. So unfortunately, you're gonna bump into that at times, even in some of the best stuff that we love. That, and you have the whole 1999, the whole 1999.
In retrospect, they probably should have waited to finish that book until this season.
Yeah, they should have. Well, wait, did they? I don't hear anything. I know it came. I don't know if it came out recently, or they're saying
it came out like
okay.
last month.
All right, well then, yeah, it was a really poor decision not to wait until after this season to do that.
Yeah, there was you were saying within this minutes presenting the book, and there's a whole thing where she's like, yeah, no, there's we're taking into account that there are variations throughout time that haven't been accounted for yet.
And as Jacob points out, that's something we have the line across Spider-Verse referencing No Way Home, and then there they say 1999-99.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I always kind of go with the theory or the mindset. It's like different places have different names for it. They do the fact Japan has a different name, which is they refer to their own country. People in Japan call their country Nippon or whatever.
Yeah, but I can give more credit to Spider-Verse because they have a Captain Britain in the Spider Society, so she would know.
Man.
Right. So again, we end just redirect from Spider-Man again.
Spider-Man just dominates everything.
Just a random aside, just again because we can't help ourselves. One of really great moments from the JMS run of Amazing Spider-Man was when the Spider-Man and Loki were hanging out and eating hot dogs together. I still love that moment.
You didn't spit in this, did you?
Anyway. So okay, yeah. So in closing, to round it back to Loki, so we end on that great money shot of him within the looms of time, the green weavings of time in the tree,
overseeing Mobius and Sylvie having that conversation because that echoes through the branches.
Yeah, Yggdrasil, or at least New Yggdrasil, however you want to kind of phrase it.
The world's tree, the multiversal tree, Yggdrasil.
Yeah. And it's a good ending. It's a good ending, and we began on Loki. We ended on Loki. It's in a show, you guessed it, called Loki, and yeah, it's great.
Burdened with glorious purpose.
Boom. All right, well, gentlemen, we've reached the end of our journey. We could speculate about Kang Dynasty all the live long day, but we got time for that one. Time being the operative word.
Time is everything.
That was time.
Always.
All right, that'll do it for us tonight as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano a mano. Just Plus and Us. For all time